you a quick question right here. If the administration got what they want in the Middle East, what would that picture look like in all its vivid detail?
If they got what they want, they would have compliant governments installed across the width and breadth of the Middle East that would be secular, non-religious, and non-threatening to the State of Israel, and willing to provide access to their energy resources on terms that are solely beneficial to the United States of America, willing to use their soil as a launch pad for furthering American power and interests in the region, in Central Asia, in Africa, and elsewhere. Basically, they would become pretty much a colony of the United States, a subject of a greater American empire, because that's what we're talking about here. When we talk about the national security strategy of the United States as set forward by the Bush administration, it's global empire, it's about American empire, and that's what we've seen, a super race called Americans subjugating the rest of the world.
Right. I know the Pentagon, they have their P2OG plan. They're talking about balkanizing the regions. How does the Pakistani government, the fall and the collapse of Pakistani government, the conflicts up with Turkey and the Kurd that you kind of addressed tonight, how does that kind of fall into play? Is that a part of the game plan? Are they looking to use that in order to further destabilize the region so they can, escalate the war even further, you think?
Well, one of the issues with empires, you need facilitating events and facilitating causes. And one of the causes that's been jumped on since 9/11 is the concept of the need for the United States to oppose Islamofascism. And so what you see is the United States positions itself in terms of policy formulation and implementation in a manner which is openly hostile to any entity that embraces Islam as part of its being. This is why we're not necessarily supporting the Turks as strongly as we can, because inside Turkey, a Muslim nation, you see a resurgence of fundamentalism. And I don't mean violent jihadist fundamentalism, I mean a return to the fundamental tenets of Islam. In Pakistan, you see the same thing. And so our intervention creates a blowback effect that further radicalizes Islam, and sort of it falls in that old adage that you reap what you sow. We create a foregone conclusion. We speak of Islamic fundamentalism as being a threat to the United States of America, and we enact policies that create radical Islamic fundamentalism, thereby justifying our original policy. And I think this is what's at play today in Turkey, in Pakistan, and elsewhere.
Great. Another question would be, there's a number of movements right here in America that are kind of being picked up on and expanded, such as the Ron Paul Revolution, the progressive movement, the anti-war movement, the 9/11 Truth movement. It's really kind of taken on a life of its own, and it seems like it's moving into like the numbers of millions across the nation. Can you speak to some of their successes and also their shortcomings as these different factions and movements, and how can we better attack and destroy the facade that this administration seems to keep us in?
Well, I think clearly the fact that these organizations exist is a success. It shows that there's, they've been able to articulate a cause, and they've been able to rally people around that cause. The problem is they seem to have plateaued off in terms of growth. There's not with the exception of Ron Paul, which is a recent phenomenon in terms of national movement, there's not this rapid expansion. The other problem is they're not as linked together as they need to be. That's why I speak of somebody like Saul Alinsky, a great union organizer. There's different union organizations out there. You have unions that represent different groups. And what Saul recognized and other union organizers recognize is by themselves they're not very influential and strong, but together, united under one umbrella, they now have genuine impact. And we're not seeing that. Maybe that's something down the road that will occur with these different disparate groups come together under a single unifying umbrella so that they have genuine political impact. But so long as each element tends to focus solely upon their message in a very selfish and self-serving manner, there's that old adage of divide and conquer, and you will see that those who oppose you will seek to divide and conquer, and I think that's really what's happening in the United States today. They need to be better organized. They need to come together in an umbrella movement.
Great. Cool. One more question, just kind of speaking to like 9/11 truth in the movement. It seems like there's a lot of people out there that represent that worldview, and they want to see a new independent investigation. How important is that to actually bring these people in before a jury and trying some of these crooks for the crimes that they've committed against America and also nations abroad?
What I would say on the 9/11 is that there's several arguments being put forward under the umbrella of the 9/11 movement. You articulated the one argument that I support wholeheartedly, which is the absolute requirement to find out what happened. That the 9/11 Commission's report is inadequate to the task, and that until they answer all the questions, you leave open, at least in the minds of certain individuals, the possibility of collusion, the possibility of conspiracy. And then you head down a very dangerous path, because once you head down the path of conspiracy, you allow yourself to be marginalized. And so I would recommend that rather than jumping on a conspiracy that is yet to be proven absolute, stick with that which I think most Americans would agree with. We have an absolute requirement to know what happened on 9/11. And no stone should be left unturned. And the 9/11 Commission report was not up to the task, and there must be a reopening of the investigation so that we, the people of the United States, know what occurred on that horrific day. And that way it lays to rest all conspiracies. We'll find out what happened. I mean, did Bush and Cheney plan the demise of the building? Was this a terrorist attack by Al-Qaeda, or was it something in between? We frankly don't know, because the body of data is incomplete. So let's find the body of data, and let's not rush to judgment. And that's that would be my advice to 9/11 truth groups. Because the second you rush to judgment, you lose a lot of the people that you need to rally to your cause.
Right. It seems like a number of people, they focus on more the anomalies, the demolition, things of that nature. Right. But there's so many FBI whistleblowers. I mean, we've seen Sybil Edmonds go public on her information. We've seen like Lieutenant Colonel Anthony Schaefer and his information. And it just, the prior knowledge was there. They absolutely knew that these guys were.
Right. And all of that's not part of the 9/11 Commission report. So let's admit that we didn't get a good report. Let's go out there and get the best report possible, and let's get to the truth so we know exactly what happens. We're not speculating. That would be my advice.
Excellent. Well, on behalf of the Truthful Alliance Network, we certainly appreciate you coming to Denver, and we wish you well on your trip.
Oh, well, thank you very much.
Bedbury and Mary.
Thanks. And I think there's some more books I got. There's a black pen.